Hi everyone, my name is Abhiraj Garakapati. Welcome to my YouTube channel Amazing Abhi. Welcome to Solo Leveling Season 1, the beginning of Sung Jinwoo's transformation from the weakest hunter in the world into something completely unknown. This season is not just about getting stronger, it is about fear, survival, betrayal, discipline, and the first step toward becoming the Shadow Monarch. We begin with a man who is mocked, underestimated, and barely able to survive low-rank dungeons. But after one impossible dungeon, everything changes. A mysterious system chooses him, gives him quests, and allows him to grow in a world where everyone else is stuck with the power they were born with. By the end of this season, Jinwoo is no longer the same person. He is no longer simply trying to survive. He is becoming the hunter that even monsters should. The story opens in a world where mysterious gates connect Earth to monster-filled dungeons. Hunters enter these gates to fight, survive, and earn money. Among them is Sung Jinwoo, an E-rank hunter, so weak that people call him the weakest hunter of all mankind. But Jinwoo keeps going into dungeons because his family depends on him. His mother is hospitalized, his sister still needs support, and he has no other way to earn enough money. At first, the mission looks like a normal low-rank raid, but once the group clears the first dungeon, they discover a hidden second entrance. That one decision changes everything. The weak hunter who was just trying to make money is about to walk into a nightmare that will decide his future. The double dungeon becomes a brutal test of life and death. Inside the temple, giant statues obey strange commandments, and one wrong move means instant death. The group panics as people are cut down, burned, crushed, and torn apart. Jinwoo, even though he is the weakest, begins noticing the rules faster than everyone else. He realizes that survival depends on reading the dungeon like a puzzle, not fighting with strength. But even his intelligence cannot save everyone. The survivors abandon him and Jinwoo is left behind, wounded and surrounded by statues. In his final moments, he chooses sacrifice over fear. Then a strange message appears before him. Instead of dying, Jinwoo is offered a chance to become a player. This is the true beginning of solo leveling. Jinwoo wakes up in a hospital bed, alive when he should have died. Doctors, officials, and hunters cannot explain what happened. Even stranger, Jinwoo begins seeing glowing screens that no one else can see. The system gives him daily quests, stat points, rewards, penalties, and a clear path to improvement. At first, it feels unreal, almost like a video game, but when Jinwoo ignores the daily quest, he is dragged into a penalty zone filled with deadly monsters. That moment teaches him that the system is not a toy. It is dangerous, strict, and real. Still, Jinwoo understands the most important thing. For the first time in his life, he can actually grow stronger through effort. The weakest hunter now has a path nobody else has. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Abhi grow naturally. Jinwoo enters his first solo instant dungeon, and this is where the audience sees the real beginning of his transformation. He is not suddenly unbeatable. He struggles, adapts, bleeds, and learns. Every battle teaches him how to use his body, his weapons, and his growing stats. The biggest test comes against a powerful dungeon boss, a giant wolf-like monster far beyond what Jinwoo once could have faced. Instead of running, he fights with everything he has. He uses strategy, speed, pain tolerance, and sheer will to win. This episode is important because it proves that the system is not giving Jinwoo easy victories. It gives him chances, but he still has to earn every level. His mindset changes from survival to determination. Jinwoo joins a C-rank dungeon raid and meets Yu Jinho, a nervous but sincere young hunter from a wealthy family. At first, the job looks like a simple opportunity to earn money. But the raid party is hiding something. Their confidence feels too casual, their behavior too suspicious, and the danger inside the dungeon grows quickly. Jinwoo notices details others ignore. He understands that in this world, monsters are not always the biggest threat. Sometimes the hunters beside you are more dangerous than anything waiting inside the gate. This episode slowly builds tension, showing how far Jinwoo has come mentally. He is no longer just a scared E-rank. He watches, calculates, and prepares before anyone else realizes the trap is closed. The betrayal is revealed. The raid party leaves Jinwoo and Jinho to die so they can profit without witnesses. But they misjudge Jinwoo completely. After surviving the dungeon boss, Jinwoo faces a new kind of enemy, human hunters willing to kill for money. The system gives him a harsh quest, forcing him to eliminate those who threaten his life. This is one of the darkest turning points of Season 1. Jinwoo learns that mercy can be dangerous when the world is cruel, and that strength changes how others treat you. He defeats the betrayers with cold precision, shocking Jinho and proving that the weakest hunter is gone. From here, Jinwoo's kindness still exists, but his hesitation begins to disappear. After the C-rank dungeon incident, Jinwoo understands that his life has entered a new stage. He can no longer think like an ordinary low-rank hunter. He keeps training, keeps clearing quests, and starts testing how far the system can take him. This episode also introduces the Demon Castle Key, hinting at a much larger world beyond normal raids. Jinwoo is curious, but also cautious, because every reward from the system comes with danger. Meanwhile, the consequences of past events begin to follow him. The Double Dungeon survivors, the Hunter Association, and people connected to the hunters he killed are all slowly being pulled back into his path. The story is preparing another test, one that forces Jinwoo to face both monsters and memories. Jinwoo is placed in a new raid with familiar faces from the Double Dungeon and with dangerous prisoners who are being used for dungeon work. The atmosphere is tense from the start. Some people remember Jinwoo as weak, injured, and helpless, but the audience knows he is no longer the same person. That creates quiet suspense. Jinwoo tries to keep his power hidden, but the dungeon environment and the unstable prisoners make that difficult. This episode is less about huge action and more about pressure. Jinwoo is surrounded by people who underestimate him, people who fear him, and people who might become enemies at any moment. The audience can feel that something is about to explode. Before we move ahead, please take a second to share on this video. Sharing helps this video reach friends who may also enjoy anime, gaming, travel, cricket, chess, career basics, or personal stories. Your support helps Amazing Apply grow naturally. The tension finally breaks when Kang Tae-shik reveals himself as a brutal hunter hiding behind authority. The dungeon becomes a battlefield where Jinwoo must protect the survivors while stopping a human predator. This fight is important because Tae-shik is not just physically dangerous. He represents the corruption inside the hunter world. Power without morality. Jinwoo fights him carefully, matching speed with speed and killing intent with calm control. The others begin to realize that Jinwoo has been hiding strength far beyond what they expected. By the end, the secret around him grows heavier. He can still pretend to be weak for now, but every battle makes that disguise harder to maintain. The world is slowly catching up to the truth. Jinho returns with a proposal. He needs to complete multiple raids to prove himself to his father, and he wants Jinwoo by his side. For Jinwoo, this becomes a perfect opportunity. He can earn money, gain experience, and level up without drawing too much public attention. Their partnership also becomes one of the most enjoyable parts of Season 1. Jinho is honest, nervous, and loyal, while Jinwoo is calm, efficient, and almost frighteningly strong. As they clear dungeons one after another, the contrast is clear. What looks impossible to most hunters has become routine for Jinwoo, but the more he grows, the more the story reminds us that ordinary dungeons are no longer enough. A greater challenge is waiting. Jinwoo enters the job change quest, expecting another trial from the system. Instead, he finds himself in a terrifying castle-like battlefield filled with armored knights. The quest feels different from everything before it. It is not just a dungeon. It is a test of identity. Jinwoo is pushed through waves of enemies until he faces Igris, a red knight guarding an empty throne. Their battle is one of Season 1's biggest moments. Igris is faster, stronger, and more skilled than almost any enemy Jinwoo has faced so far. Jinwoo is forced to fight at his absolute limit. The empty throne quietly asks the real question of the arc. What kind of ruler is Jinwoo becoming? The final episode pushes Jinwoo past exhaustion. Even after defeating Igris, the quest continues with endless enemies. Jinwoo is trapped, wounded, and nearly overwhelmed. But instead of breaking, he endures long enough for the system to recognize his will. Then comes the moment that defines the entire franchise. He receives the power to command the dead. The word Arise changes everything. Fallen enemies become his soldiers, and Jinwoo gains his first shadow army. This is not just a power-up. It is a transformation in status. He is no longer only a hunter leveling up in secret. He has become the master of shadows, standing at the entrance of a much larger destiny. Season 1 completes Jinwoo's first major transformation. He begins as the weakest hunter, someone who enters dungeons only because he has no choice. He survives the double dungeon, accepts the system, trains alone, defeats monsters, faces human betrayal, protects people who once underestimated him, and finally earns a class that changes the entire direction of the story. The season ends with Jinwoo standing above his limits, surrounded by shadows that obey him. But this is still only the beginning. Season 2 will take this hidden power into larger conflicts: Red Gates, Demon Castle, rank reassessment, the Hunters Guild, and eventually the Jeju Island crisis. Season 1 is the origin story. It shows how a powerless man becomes the one person who can level up endlessly. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Amazing Abhi. Subscribing makes sure you do not miss the next video, and it gives me motivation to keep improving the quality of every upload. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.